All right, what's going on, guys? Good morning. Stage number 6 results. Well, sort of. We got a little bit longer of a stage. If you guys heard the stage preview yesterday and tuned into that one, you knew today was going to be an absolute monster of a stage. Probably about the second longest stage when compared to the 48-hour chrono. But single day stage is going to be one of the longest ones. So as predicted, I knew based on the notes that it was going to be fast. The stage notes from yesterday depicting today, fast this, fast that, fast over here, fast over there. So we knew it was going to be contended. And well, with about 6 minutes or so separating the top 10 bikes through the end of the stage, yeah, it was fast. Speaking of fast and coming out with a exclamation point, Mason Klein once again trading top spots for the early parts of the stage, and about just past the halfway point was clearing the kilometers, was clearing those checkpoints. And excuse me, as the alerts start coming in, the checkpoints, the visual points, passing them and creating a little bit of a gap up to about 3 minutes at one point. But in that last few sections, the last few 100 kilometers, he did lose a little bit of time, pushing them down a little bit. So what are we talking about? Let's talk about the stage ranking. So again, these are going to be the provisional results. Graphic is on the screen if you're following along on Spotify podcasts or videocasts and or YouTube. So provisional results for stage number 6 on the bikes, and none other than Ricky Brabec setting the fast lap, 5 hours flat 51 seconds, excuse me. And then Adrian Van Beveren, both these guys on the Monster Energy Hondas. Adrian picking up a 5:01.14 for him on this one, and 23 seconds off the pace of Ricky Brabec. Also collecting 6 minutes bonus time. So very well done there for leading and opening the stage. Bonus time for those of you playing the home game is basically they give back some of the time for leading and opening the stage from a certain point. And so this helps balance out a little bit of that losing time and the sandbagging that can occur when people don't want to open a stage because of the difficulty opening. So they're doing this to kind of combat that kind of strategy move. We'll just call it a strategy move. Anyway, all right, moving on. Nacho Cornejo in the number 3 spot, 5:01.42 for him. He is 51 seconds back. So less than a minute separating the top 3 riders through the end of this 600 kilometer special. That's crazy. So what do we have? And speaking of Hero Motorsports, we've got 2 guys to report, none other than, and unfortunately, Ross Branch taking a spill today and having to retire. I saw a post just a few minutes ago stating that he has been checked out. Medically, he's doing all right. He just got his bell rung pretty good, but has retired from the rally. Another one very notable aboard the KTM, that is none other than Bradley Cox, part of the BAS World team. Bradley Cox crashing out about 100 kilometers or 100 meters into the stage. So a bit of a spill, voluntarily had himself checked out, and decided that was going to be the end of the rally for him. So another one that got his bell rung pretty good. And well, I mean, that just goes to show it's motorcycles. It's the sport of rally, and you never know what could happen. Today's stage is definitely one of those, especially when you're looking at how fast this stage is. Obviously, with speed comes greater danger. So these bikes get set up to handle this kind of terrain. That's why a lot of these teams do their testing out here in Southern California, out in the western states, in the western desert. You've got a lot of high speed, and you've got some extremely rough conditions. They are very hard to replicate anywhere else in the world. So the only thing we may not have is dunes. I mean, we've got Glamis out here, but they don't compare to that stuff. That's where rallies like the Sonora Rally step in with the dunes of the Altar, where they have a little bit better chance of getting familiarized with dune work on their current bikes. So very well done. Anyway, I mean, I'm glad to hear that both of those guys are safe, and, you know, it is part of it, and it's unfortunate to see them go. Rossi was on a good run as well, trying to keep up top on that podium again. So let's move on down. That was your top 3. Let's get on down a little further here, cover your top 10. In the number 4 spot, Tasha Sharina on the Monster Energy Honda, finishing up with a 5 hour, 3 minute, and 18 second, finishing 2:27 back from Ricky Brabec. Luciano Benavides in the number 5 spot. Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, finishing up 5:04.27. and 3 minutes and 36 back. Then it is in the number 6 spot, Luciano Santolino on the Sherco Rally Factory. 5:04.38 for him and finishing 3:47 back. And then it is Mason Klein on the Cove Factory Racing Bike, finishing up 5 hours, 5 minutes, 13 seconds, and 4:22 back. Skylar Howes in the number 8 spot aboard the Monster Energy Honda, 5:06 flat with 5:09 back. And then it is Daniel Sanders, your current overall leader. That is going to be 9th place for him on the Red Bull KTM Factory Bike, 5:06.34, finishing 5:43 back. And in the number 10 spot, Pablo Quintanilla, Monster Energy Honda, 5:06.37 for him. It's going to be 5:46 back. So very, very tight group. 10 riders, 5 minutes and 46 seconds. That is the split. Absolutely crazy. So good to see that these guys are doing their thing. Jumping on down just a little further, some of the notables: Tobias Sebster in 12th. We'll keep going down. Mulek Gonsalves, Niels Therick, 18th in Rally 2. Very well done for Niels Therick. I mean, that is a good run. He is definitely on a good run this year aboard the Cove and teammate 2, none other than Mason Klein. Really awesome to see that one. Obviously, Neil's running in the Rally 2 category, Mason Klein in the Rally GP category, but very well done on that part. We'll try and get some overall stuff going on with them because I know that there is a lot to be. There we go. It jumped around on me here. So let's take a look. So that is the current stage results, provisional through stage 6. Let's take a look at the overall. Overall, this is what it's looking like now. We've got 2 Hondas now occupying the top spots on the podium. Well, second and third. It is going to be Daniel Sanders, 35:18.49 for him so far. Now, 35 hours, 18 minutes, and 49 seconds. Now, remember, that's just the timed part of it. That is just the selective section or the special stage or special section, that kind of thing. In the Sport of Rally, remember, guys, we've got the liaison, we've got the actual time section, and then we may have another liaison. The liaisons beginning and end are kind of, I'm going to say, optional in that the organization sometimes has one and sometimes they don't. Like, for instance, in the case of the marathon stage, on the way out, they only had a liaison at the beginning to get to the start. And then when they finished, they were at the bivouac that they needed to finish at, in this case. And then the next morning, they didn't have a liaison in the morning because they were already at the start line, leaving right from the bivouac, but then they did have one in the evening. So liaisons can vary in distance and that, but they don't count towards the total time. You can incur penalties. There are things you have to watch out for, but the clock, your actual race clock, has stopped. In this particular case, these guys, when I say they've got 35 hours under their belts, 35 hours, 18 minutes under their belts, that's just on the time part. That has nothing to do with the hundreds of kilometers that they've already had to go just on the commute and the liaison side of things. So it is an absolute test to all of the equipment, starting with the mooses on these things, because you got to get up on the highways. You got to just absolutely kill a bunch of miles. So it definitely gets long on there. So that's where some of these teams will be running, fresh set of tires, fresh set of mooses every day. If you're in the Motul Originals by Motul category, you're limited to 1 new set or 6 new sets, and then you got to spread them out accordingly. So very interesting on how that can play out. But things like, a flat tire, a moose that degrades, there's a lot of different things that can occur with this. And, well, these guys have to account for that in their strategy. But anyway, all right, let's jump back to the results. Let's talk the current overall standings. And remember, again, can't harp on this enough, these are provisional. These are open for change. Literally this morning, I got another alert from the FIA side of the house saying that the results had been updated. Yeah. And we're, stage 4 was how many days ago? Yeah. So, okay. Let's take a look here. So Daniel Sanders, 35:18.49 for him. Tasha Sharina going to be in the number 2 spot, 35:30.35 for him. 11:46. That is down from about a 15-minute gap that they had. So Tasha picking up a little bit of time there on that one. Adrian Van Beveren also picking up some time in the 3rd spot, 35:38 flat for him. He is going to be 19:11 back, also picking up a few minutes coming into stage 6, or coming into the end of stage 6. So that is your current top 3 overall for the bikes. Taking a look further down, and it is the in Spanish we call it the Marea Roja. It is the red tide. Tasha Sharena in second, Adrian Van Bever in third, Ricky Brabec on the Monster Energy Honda fourth, 35:42.07 for him, going to be 23 minutes back. And then it is Skylar Howes in the number 5 spot, going to be 35:46.14 for him. So far, he is going to be 27 minutes and 25 seconds back. Then we've got the lone KTM up top. Well, I shouldn't say lone KTM, but we've got one of 3 KTMs in the field. Looks like 6th, and that is the Red Bull KTM Factory Racing Bike, 35 hours, 48 minutes, 57 seconds, going to be 30.8 back. So 30 minutes, 8 seconds back, excuse me. And then in the number 7 spot, Pablo Quintanilla Monster Energy Honda, 35 hours, 59 minutes, 41 seconds. He is going to be 40 minutes and 52 seconds back. Nacho Cornejo in the number 8 spot on the Hero Motorsports Team Rally Bike, 36:03.28 for him. He's going to be 44 minutes and 39 seconds back. Luciano Santolino in the number 9 spot, Sherco Rally Factory, 36:28.17 for him. And then it is a 1 hour, 9 minute, and 28 second gap to your current leader, Daniel Sanders. And then rounding out the top 10, Eder Canet in Rally 2, Red Bull KTM Factory, 36 hours, 35 minutes, and 48 seconds. He is going to be 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 59 seconds back. So very well done there. That is your overall current guys through stage 6. Again, that is the provisional results so far. Let's take a look at the cars, see what is going on. This was a longer stage, so earlier when I checked, we didn't have a lot of the car stuff done, and they right now are still not showing standings at the moment. So I am curious to see how far out they are. It looks like we've still got a few of them headed out, but not enough finishers yet for them to start putting up podiums. But last known location, these guys, it was Matthew Baumel navigating for none other than DeMavis in the JCW John Cooper Works Mini, looking like a 4 hour, 22 minute through the 577. But let's see here. And the stage times. All right. Yeah, DeMavis looks like he is going to be leading through the finish line. And then it is Ferreira in the number 2 spot, Nasser Al-Attiyah in the number 3 spots. These guys are still, looks like they're going to still be out on course. They haven't crossed over into the bivouac or to the end of the liaison where they're starting to take the times and register this stuff, because they are not publishing yet a podium for the provisional results. But as of right now, it is currently 6:18 a.m. here on the Pacific Coast. So going to be 5:18 p.m. for those guys out there. And we're still waiting on the cars to populate a podium result. So we'll talk a little bit more about them in the stage preview once we got a little bit more information. I won't dive into them on this one, so we'll just talk motos for today. But pretty much a wrap. I mean, we knew the stage was going to be fast. I know we've got a couple more fast stages, and then we've got the mass start. The final stage at the Dakar Rally is a very interesting one, to say the least. It's usually a little bit shorter. They'll do something weird like invert the entire field. So the guy that's been dead last all rally, or the guy that's dead last from the last stage, will all of a sudden be the guy that opens the stage. A very daunting task when you've got a very big, very hungry field behind you. And, you know, it could be a chance to shake things up. We've heard earlier on in the event, we heard Skylar Howes talking a little bit about following tracks, pushing the pace, trying to make up time. And this is one of those things that can happen if you are following tracks, especially the top guys, you know, the guys in front of you, the ability to navigate, the speed at which they ride at, you know, everything it's much closer matched. Now, when you start the other way around, the tracks that you have in front of you, there could be some guessing there. There could be some deviations. It may not be the most efficient route, but that's the line that's getting burned in, because you have one guy navigating, then you've got a bunch of guys following. So it's been said in the sport of rally, you know, you got to follow your own road book. You got to be on your own book to better your chances, right? It's one thing to follow the tracks, but you want to, trust but verify. Make sure that you're on your book, keeping up with the notes, because it's that one note that gets tricky if your book isn't up to date. You're not really sure where you're at in the scheme of things, especially if you start cutting corners to make up time to help them. And it's a couple K at a time, or it's a couple tenths at a time, couple tenths. And then next thing you know, you get to a tricky note and your odometer is behind, thinking you haven't gone, or you've gone less kilometers than where the road book is kind of indicating, and that could lead to a bad situation. So it's very important to keep up. You can't just turn on the autopilot, because that can cause issues. So interesting to see how this goes. We did see Mason trading spots up at the top. Again, this is the second time that he does that. We know the bike has pace. We know he has the ability to navigate. So now it makes me wonder, are we now starting to experience problems? Is the ERTF tablet now starting to play into this and causing issues with navigation? So he is very, very versed now in roadbook navigation. I think he is very talented in that, and is one of those that follows his book. He doesn't necessarily trust tracks. He wants to make sure he's on there so this could be something. This could be a conversation. So I'm curious to see how much more this comes up before the end of the event, if anybody else is going to make any statements, and what the ASO is doing to mitigate some of these times, because once somebody gets time back for a road book that didn't work, now everybody's got a road book that didn't work, and now you got to try and weed through all of that. And it's both time consuming, and it could lead to unfavorable results, right? If one guy gets time back and the other doesn't, it could get a little bit touchy. But with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We'll just cover the motos right now because, again, the cars are still out there, still making things happen. So we will see as they get closer. Like I said, I think the best thing to do will be to cover it tonight. Before we officially sign off, I just want to see where we're at on the SSV side of the house. Xavier Desaultré was currently leading. They're on their way to kilometer 577. Lopez Contardo second, Brock Hager and Max Eddy third. So very well done there. We'll see. These guys still got a ways to go. And this second half, it seemed like it was a little bit tricky. So this is where we saw Mason lose a bit of time, and the top leaders in the Rally GP and the moto side kind of switch it up a little bit. So anyway, with that being said, guys, remember, like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Greatly appreciate you guys being here, tuning in, and doing all the fun stuff with us, and keeping up with this event. It's a little bit of a task. But anyway, with that being said, don't forget, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride.